Last but not least, I'd like to introduce Jeremy Meadowcroft, who's with extensive experience with the Business Enterprise Fund. It's a massively successful organisation. I think, if I'm not going to embarrass you too much, Jeremy, over the course of the last few years, particularly in Bradford, but I think a region-wide remit right now, linked tentatively to the Chamber, I think. Yep. But as I say, massively successful. But I'll let Jeremy tell you thought about the organisation and what they do, especially.
So, good evening, everybody. So yeah, Jeremy Meadowcroft from Business Enterprise Fund. Well, my background is really 30 years as a banker, commercial, retail, business, latterly corporate. So it's peculiar that I now work for the Business Enterprise Fund. But that experience really has taught me in how to know the credit policies of the banks in the UK, and of course the last 10 years we've seen such a significant change and much media coverage has been given about it. The Business Enterprise Fund are a bit of a success story, and I worked with them as a banker. I would refer clients to the Business Enterprise Fund quite regularly, and I think the dovetailing of services, as we look at the panel here, whether it's the LEP or the banks and all the schemes, it's really important as professionals we understand how the services we provide dovetail together, because that's really the key to it, making sure that the clients are at the centre of everything we do and we find the most appropriate solution for them, whether it's mainstream banking, whether it's alternative sources, or whether it's things that maybe you haven't heard of before. So the Business Enterprise Fund started off as the Bradford Enterprise Fund, would you believe it? Started off very much here in Bradford, success story in little Germany, and people used to call us Bradford Enterprise Fund, and now we're very much a Yorkshire success story. So we've grown from 14 years of lending money in business in Bradford and getting wider into Leeds and going out into North Yorkshire and East Yorkshire, and now we pretty much lend to businesses across Yorkshire and the whole of the North East region. That's really our remit. And as an alternative funder, we show people how to borrow money to do exactly that, how to thrive and grow. We're a non-profit organisation. Now you need to hear that again because that sounds quite unusual in the banking world, doesn't it? We're a non-profit enterprise and we lend central government funding. So we don't quote deals based on how much money we're going to make and how much profit we're going to make. We don't produce a set of accounts that say this is how successful we are and how profitable we were by lending to you. We measure our success by how successful our clients are. We measure that by the fact that we'll create jobs, we'll safeguard jobs, and we'll create economic growth for the region through the business's own prosperity. And that's what we measure them. So, yes, every day customers are paying us off, every day loans are maturing, and every day we're granting new loans. We sit on a fund of about £10 million. We lend between £7 and £10 million every year to SME businesses across Yorkshire and the North East every day, just like businesses like you and that you know and see every day. Typical loans are probably about 50,000. So these are real touchable figures. We're not doing big multi-million pound property deals. We're doing small unsecured lends to regular owner managed businesses in Yorkshire and the North East. And that's what we do day in, day out. If we look at stats since we started, then they're the measures. So basically we've created or helped get started over 800 businesses in the region. 2,000 new or saved jobs and £33 million lent. £33 million lent just in this region. You can see why we're quite proud of what we do. And really, what we do is very simple. We have 2, possibly 3 products, no more, not difficult. We provide startup loans. So we take government funds and we lend those out to the businesses that can't otherwise access them through mainstream lenders. That's our function. So a startup loan is a government scheme. And it says any business owner can borrow between £500 and £25,000. No arrangement fee at a fixed 6% interest rate over 5 years. No early or setup fees or repayment fees. And it's a loan from the government to you to help you get your business started. The only eligibility is it's so good you can only ever have one in your lifetime. So once you've had one, great, but you can't have another one. We get a lot of customers who don't know about this, and it's not surprising because the government don't have a budget for advertising these, and they use delivery partners to deliver them. So we are an accredited delivery partner of the government startup loan. We do about 450 of these a year. for businesses up to 2 years old. So often a business will come along and say, I'm not a startup, I'm not a startup. But if you're 23 months old, you're still classed as a startup. So you're eligible for a loan of up to $25,000 per owner. So we get a lot of businesses where there's 2 partners or 3 directors. Well, you can get 2 or 3 startup loans then. So if you've got a limited company with 4 directors, each of them takes out a startup loan of $25,000, you've got £100,000 unsecured at 6%, no arrangement fee. It's pretty good. You'd think more people would know about it. So we're a delivery partner of those, and you can contact us anytime, but we can do those anywhere in the country. Other than that, I said before, we sit on a fund of 10 million, and that's what our fund currently sits on with our database, but we lend money to growing businesses. So if you're over 2 years old, you're no longer eligible for the startup loan, or you've already had one, then we'll lend a business enterprise fund loan. Now bear in mind, our money could be European money, ERDF money, UK money, yeah? These are governments lending money to get it out into the economy where people struggle to raise the access, that money otherwise, because they can't access it. Why? Well, a multitude of reasons. They've got no security, got no trading, they've had a CCJ, you missed your mortgage payment last week, you've been behind on your credit card for 2 months. 100 different reasons why legitimately the banks may well not be able to lend to you. It's a common myth that I think a lot of people think the banks are saying no. They're not. What they're saying is, you're not a lending proposal. We like your business. They want to help. The banks are bending over backwards to help you. But if it's not a viable or lending proposal, this is why so many people get declined. Lacking collateral is probably the number one reason. So if we lend up to £100,000 unsecured, you can see why we're fairly popular. Now, some of you may have heard of the Northern Powerhouse. Northern Powerhouse is an investment fund from a multitude of different UK and overseas, UK and European monies to grow the north of England, the whole of the north of England. I'll show you the whole map. But the north of England consists of the west and the east, but it's broken down into delivery partners. It consists of a £10 million fund for our region, Yorkshire and the North East. We tendered for that. And because we do what we do very well, the government said, we'd love you to deliver our £10 million, please. So we've just received another slug of money, basically to carry on doing what we're doing, to lend it to the businesses that need the money to grow, that create the jobs and the economic stimulus for this region. So we've got more money on tap. And the Northern Powerhouse Investment Fund is delivered by the British Business Bank, who, as Faisal said, also manage the Enterprise Finance Guarantee Scheme. So the British Business Bank love us and say, great. Now, that fund was started in February, and if any of you have seen on the news this week, the British Business Bank are very proud to say we've just reached the 10 million border. So 10 million funds have been invested due to their money through people like us to businesses in that region. So Yorkshire's doing pretty well at the minute. So we're proud to be a delivery partner for the Northern Powerhouse Fund, but really it's just more money to carry on doing what we're doing and helping more businesses. How do I access it? Well, it's really quite simple. We use application forms and cash flow forecasts and budget plans. And hey, I give talks on how to come and make an approach to business lenders like me. But the reason I work for Business Enterprise Fund is because we're a human organisation. We're full of grey-haired ex-bankers like me, I'm afraid. And there is a value in that. It's called experience. So most people have been to a website and typed in some details, and a logarithm will tell you yes or no. And unfortunately, that credit scoring is not very popular, and you'll all have come across this at some point in your life. In business, it's very hard to use algorithm-based lending, so we don't. We use human beings, ex-bankers like me, and we sit and we independently assess your credit application, and that's what we do. And we do it very well because we get our money back, customers repay us, they come back to us and say, great, can I have some more money? I've been a customer of yours, my loan's getting low, can I have some more now? And that's what we do. So we pretty much handhold customers through the application. I'll come and sit on your potato sack or on the corner of your desk or by your printing press, because that's what I've been doing all of my life, and talking to business owners about really what it is that you think you want and what you need. You might need an amount of money. Some of the money you think you might need, you might not need. There might be another solution to it. It might be I might be able to introduce you to some people at the LEP, or to the innovation, or the RTC team, or to grants team. And actually, you might not need to borrow the amount that you think you do, but that's where we can help. We'll go through bank statements and CVs in terms of the lease. All these things are really just to show you that we're a human organisation, the things you would expect to fill in anywhere. But it's not a website. It's not the computer that's going to tell you no or yes. I don't know why we got that slide. It's pretty simple. You don't need to know how I do my job. You need to know what we do. Okay, Charles Adams. Okay, tiny little unit. Couple of success stories because these tell the stories better, really. Charles. Okay, tiny little unit. You wouldn't know where it is. It's around the back of Pudsey. It's dirty. It's horrible. There's a roller door. You wouldn't know. But what this guy does is he invented a jig that can take. If you've all been on holiday this year, if you've been on an aeroplane on a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, I think there's 64 blades. He can take a blade without any human interaction or touching that blade, contaminating it. He's created a jig that can rotate that 360 degrees and can measure it with a micrometer in 100 places, so they can measure it for depth or for wear or tear. So right now, Rolls-Royce love him. He's got so much business, but he needed funding. A bank manager rang me and said, Jeremy, could you help my friend Charles, because we can't lend to him. We love him. We love his business. He's a great customer, but it's not a lending proposal we can help. Can you help him? So we were happy to help. This young man, Ben, 22, won the Duke of York Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2015. He's another West Yorkshire success story. He creates these game controllers. I've got to confess, I've never played an Xbox in my life. But what he's done, his products are now in every high street chain of Game, the retailer. If you don't know it, your children will know it. And his product's sitting there. But when he won that contract, oh my goodness, they suddenly wanted him to stock 260 stores. He needed 250,000 units when you win a contract like that. And the bank said, we can't help you with that. So he came to us, we helped him. Not your average bikes, again, a guy with a great idea, a bit wacky, nobody had done this before, buying very unique imported motorbikes, and he wanted to have a showroom. But he said the people that buy these bikes are sort of millionaires, and they spend a load of money on this Harley Davidson, but they don't know how to fix it. So what they want is a workshop where they can come in and tinker with it, with real bike enthusiasts. Sounds like a great idea, but a bit too wacky for a bank, a bit too much of a strange idea, yeah? So again, same thing, a bank manager rang me and said, we love the guy, he's a great customer, but we just can't fund that request he's got. So he came to us and we helped him. Now, here's a couple of success stories. You may have seen this if any of you watch Dragon's Den. Who watches Dragon's Den? Hands in the air. Yeah, okay, so if you see Dragon's Den, there's lots to be said and stories about Dragon's Den, but Sarah Aga-Brennan and her husband Carl, Emoji Cushions, or better known as Love Bomb Cushions, they were on Dragon's Den a week last Sunday. So 3 of my clients have been on Dragon's Den just this year so far. And these are the everyday customers that we help. And one final one, the Cat's Pyjamas. If anyone knows the Cat's Pyjamas, that one's in Headingley. I've just opened a new one in the shopping centre in Leeds. Again, a customer who comes back to us again and again. And once his business has been trading, and then they're successful, then we'll introduce them back down to the bank. So it rolls over, it rolls over. But my plea is to say, Business Enterprise Fund is a Yorkshire success story. We lend £10 million a year to businesses that you know and see and touch and interact with every day. But some people haven't heard of us. Some of you might not have heard of us today. But the funding is there. It's government funding. We make the decisions. We'll handhold you through the process. We'll get you the money. And we'll help you find what you need to grow your business, or to make your business a success, or to employ people or grow your workforce. Because your success is our success. For every £1 we lend, we create £4 of return for the Yorkshire economy. So we have something called a social impact report. So before you leave tonight, there's a table out there. I'd encourage you, if you want to know more about us, this is our social impact report. Because we don't measure ourselves on profit. We measure ourselves on what I've put up there. How many jobs we create, how much economic return we create for the Yorkshire economy. And that's in effect what the Business Enterprise Fund has always been about and what it will always be about. So if you want to speak to a human being about that, by all means, go on our website or give me a call. Thanks very much for your time.